Hello, welcome to another episode of 90 Day Fiance, Happily Ever After. We are in Season 5, Episode 9, Burnt Bridges and Bitter Truths. Yes, it's becoming very bitter, and yes, TLC is burning bridges with me with every episode. All right, so we already know that I have deleted the frizzy blonde neo-colonialist Buffalo and her poor Nigerian fiance, and I wish him well. That's all I'll say about that. But we are going to have another group join them in the trash can, and that is officially going to be, drum roll, Colt, Deb, and Jess. We all know by now that this entire storyline was faked and that Colt needed a foreign girl in order to be on Happily Ever After, because clearly Larissa wasn't coming back in the picture, and he needed to keep that he needed to keep that 90-day fiance fame going. He was desperate for that clout, because that clout has allowed him to sleep with women who otherwise would have absolutely nothing to do with him. He is disgraceful. His mother, whether she really is like that, or the fact that she's willing to behave like this for a television show, is also disgraceful. And Jess is the worst actress in the world. She's just weird. I've never met anyone from Brazil like her. She's a strange fish. But the whole thing is completely fake, which is why they were immediately like, oh, we love each other, we want to get married, we see a future together. Yeah, because they needed to stay in the 90-day fiance orbit. You know, how is Colt ever going to find a date once his fame from this runs out? I honestly believe that Colt and Deb think that they're going to get their own show out of this. And if that happens, I can tell you one person who's not going to be watching. Yeah, so I can't be a part of encouraging something that is just entirely a lie. So I'm not going to cover them anymore. Also, it's painful to watch for me. It literally makes me feel ill to watch this stupidity. It makes me lose brain cells. I have no interest in it. Jess is now mercifully gone, but they're going to keep milking this out, I guess, with this Vanessa person for the rest of the season. And who knows what. Apparently then he was with a young lady from Mexico who's a personal trainer who was doing his personal training sessions on FaceTime. So he's trying to use her, no doubt, to get another season of something before the 90 days, whatever. The fact is, they are no longer in my universe. Okay, so just to make it clear for anyone who is wondering what is happening, there will be no frizzy blonde neo-colonial Buffalo and her poor Nigerian fiance, and there will be no more Colt, Deb, and Jess. And that's that. Okay, and as we'll see, someone else is also joining the trash can. So basically I'm going to be covering half of Happily Ever After, because this is absolutely the most nonsensical, fake, fraudulent even, of any of the seasons, of any of the shows in the 90 Day Fiance franchise. And people use the term jump the shark. Well, this is jumping a whole tank full of sharks. Anyway, oh, and by the way, you're welcome to go elsewhere to follow them. There are a million channels that will cover them in detail as if they are real stories. For some reason, people want them, but then again, people also want to watch, you know, My 600-Pound Life, which is also the most exploitative television I can possibly imagine, and I think is just so wrong on so many levels. So this is not the channel for you. And that's probably not a good way to start out, but I think it's only fair because I want to be very clear that I'm not covering things that are just emotional porn. That's what this kind of thing is. Now, for those of you who like what I'm serving and who enjoy my recaps of the 90-day couples that are real, for example, the Other Way this season, I'm finding quite interesting. And there are some real love stories there, as well as my 90 Days Fiance Happily Ever After with the couples that are left. And please remember that I also cover on a different channel, on 2 different channels, all of the Real Housewives. That channel is Real Housewives Tea and Shade. And there's another channel that covers more than just Housewives, that covers 90 Days and Housewives, and may cover more in the future, and that is called Intelligent Reality Recaps. However, for my diehard 90-day fans, I will keep this channel up and running, and I will cover the couples that are not just a huge waste of time because they're nothing but fake, 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 or evil, or criminal. Then stick around with this. I'd be thrilled to see you, thrilled to have you push like, subscribe or unsubscribe, please. If you're a giant Angela fan, I'm actually inviting people to unsubscribe. If you love Angela and if you love Colt, please, you can unsubscribe. For everyone else, I would be honored if you would push the red subscribe button, and if you would give me your comments and a thumbs up. That would be amazing. All right, so now our next couple is Asuelu and Kalani. Also not exactly a basket full of kittens. This couple's pretty tough too. However, I think there is some reality there, as in reality television. Okay, they are in their bed and breakfast after Asuelu got pouty because the 2 little boys were crying and they were exhausted and they needed to get to the Airbnb. Asuelu wanted to see his family even though the kids were crying. Kalani said, no, I'm exhausted. So he cursed at her. Yeah, he was nice and verbally abusive again and pouting around. However, they warmed up to each other in the morning because they both felt that they experienced the presence of a ghost in the night. So they're going to change bed and breakfasts, Airbnbs, because they believe there's a ghost there, and it didn't feel apparently like a happy ghost. So for what it's worth, that helped them bond a little in the morning. Okay. Asuelu says he wants things to be better. Well, that is the vaguest apology I've ever heard, but Kalani's taking it as an apology because the poor thing is desperate, I guess. Colini, her sister, comes to Portland to help with the kids. This is really strange because they have been saying Washington, 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 Washington State the whole time about his mother and his sisters. And lo and behold, we're in Portland. So perhaps the mother and sisters live in Washington State and they drove down to Portland, and it was a 9-hour drive, I guess, for Asuelu and Kalani from Utah to Portland. So they kind of picked a place, not exactly in the middle, but a little bit more convenient for the Utah crowd. So they're all going to meet there. Okay. Kalani's so pretty. Really, I mean, I think Kalani and Kalini are so lovely. That hair, oh, that Polynesian hair, it's just, it's amazing. It's a gift from God. It really is. And their skin and just their beautiful eyes. They're gorgeous girls, really gorgeous girls. Kalani, you can do better than Asuelu. All right. Now, by the way, Kalani, of course, was there in California for Asuelu's giant baby fiesta, so she is not exactly any fonder of Asuelu than she was last season. All right. So, they go to see Asuelu's mom and his sisters, Rosa and Tammy. And Rosa is deaf. She signs, but apparently only Tammy knows sign language. So mom, I don't know how mom communicates with her. I guess hopefully Rosa reads lips. But anyway, she's profoundly deaf. Okay. That doesn't mean she's not a tough Samoan chick, though, as we'll see. Those tough Samoan chicks. You have a disability? It doesn't matter. You're still scary. Okay, Mom is really happy to see Asuelu. I think she's going in for one of those Eskimo kisses where you smush noses together, but they are definitely smushing noses and lips together. But you know, I think a big deal is made out of it. Kalani says later that she thinks it's weird, and this makes Asuelu really angry. How dare she say it's weird? But remember also, I think that it is probably a custom maybe to kiss like that, you know, nose to nose, maybe slightly lip to lip, but it's not like they were French kissing each other. It wasn't that creepy. And also, for example, Russian moms will kiss their children on the lips, even when they're adults. I'm not talking French kissing, I'm talking, there are cultures where people kiss on the lips. Post-Rona, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. Are we all going to be doing the elbow greeting or the fist bump in the future? I don't know. Or we could do the bow, which is very good, which I like. Actually, I like the bow. The bow is very respectful. Okay. Larissa. Larissa is troubling me because, you know, there's crazy Brazilian Larissa, like, you know, crazy Russian Anfisa. I think there's something really wrong with Larissa. I think Larissa is, I think that she is, I can't diagnose her and I shouldn't diagnose her, but I think there's something seriously wrong there. She looks deeply clinically depressed in this episode. Look at her eyes. She's not okay. She's not okay. All right, so she needs to go give him his phone back. There's a knock on Carmen's door. She's at Carmen's telling her about how, he said all these horrible things about me to this woman, and he also talked about how bad I was in bed, presumably with Colt, and she's humiliated and she's upset. And she's also worried about, you know, that he could call the police because, you know, constructively, he has possession of the phone. She gave it to him as a gift. So he could call the police and say, she stole my phone. And she doesn't need any more interaction with the police, does she? That's for sure. So the knock on the door turns out to be Amazon. Thank you, 90 Day Fiance, for more BS. You're not showing yourself in the best possible light. You are really just gonna go for the My 600 Pound Life, former Jerry Springer, Maury Povich crowd, aren't you? That's where this is heading, isn't it? Please remember, some of us enjoy the format of the show, but we don't just want a freak show. Please remember us. Anyway, obviously, like I said, they're getting, you know, they get millions of views. Before the 90 days, got 3 million views on average per episode, which is huge. So I don't think they're going to listen to me. I think they're going to keep making money, which is a shame. Okay. She goes to Eric's house, and the roommate kind of shows up, and she immediately threatens to kick his ass. He was the one that called her and said, you know, he needs to know where his phone is because he could call the police. And she's, you know, she immediately threatens him. She's like, don't you threaten to call the police on me. You're not a part of this. Stay out of it. Get out of here. And she threatens to kick his ass. So great. Another reason for someone to call the police. She's so out of control. I don't think her out of control is theatrical out of control. I think maybe in the beginning it was like, who is against the queen must die. I think that was, you know, kind of scripted, but I think at this point she really is walking on the razor's edge, as they say, between sanity and insanity, possibly. All right, Eric is so funny because when Eric gets mad, he really becomes, there's nothing wrong with the word effeminate. To be feminine, to have feminine qualities is a beautiful thing, so I'm not ashamed to say that. He becomes very effeminate when he's upset and he's talking to her, and his hand gestures and his voice, and he 100% turns into an old character from Saturday Night Live, which you kids may not have seen. If you want, you can look him up, but I don't even know if there's a clip of him on the SNL Saturday Night Live website. The character's name was Lyle, the effeminate heterosexual. And Dana Carvey played a man who was married with kids, who was very straight, and he just happened to have very effeminate gestures and speaking voice. And people would say, but I thought you were gay. And he'd be, what? And it was, yeah, it was a little less than PC. It was the 80s. It was a different time, but it was very funny. And every time I see Eric, I hear the theme song from that show, Lyle, the effeminate heterosexual. Every single time I see Eric, I think of that. She wants to know every word that he said to everybody. So what, he's going to reconstruct? She's already read the texts, but she's like unrealistically going, I need to hear every word that you said to that girl, to what was her name, Natalie, to Colt, to anybody else. I need to hear everything you said. And she says, I'm very sensitive about my sexuality because I don't have a lot of experience. Remember, she's a very good Catholic-y girl. Well, you had kids, you were married, you've had a few sexual partners anyway, so I don't know how you could be that clueless. Now I agree, it's a horrible thing to do, to talk about a woman's sexuality or her sexual performance to anyone else. That is something that's so private and that is just between the two of you. And maybe a sex therapist if you're in couples therapy. But other than that, you don't ever share that with anybody else. It's disgusting. It's so, I use disgusting a lot. I sound very prissy. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's such a breach of privacy. Okay, so he's trying to kind of apologize and say, we said we were going to put the past behind us. I'm sorry, but we said we weren't going to do this. And she's just like, she needs to know every word. She needs to know every word. She's spinning. She's spinning. And again, through all this, look at her eyes. Look at those eyes. Something's wrong. Something's wrong with our poor Larissa. Okay, she says she will never forgive him. She calls him a loser. And he, interestingly, after all this, after all her behavior and craziness, he says he has doubts now. He has doubts whether this is a good idea. Really? You just have doubts? You're not sure now that you need to get this woman the hell out of your house and out of your life? You just have doubts. How much is clout worth to you, Eric? She might kill you. She might stab you. I mean, you don't know. Listen. I don't care who you are and what you are. You might be in danger with that one living under your roof. I don't know. Okay, yeah, so she says she's going to spend the night there with Eric and then she's going to go to Carmen's the next day, which concerns me because that means she's going to change her mind again. She's going to go to the other pole and she's going to become, sweet Larissa again. I really hope we can work this out the next morning. But for now, she says she's going to spend the night and then she's going to organize her stuff in the morning and see if Carmen will take her back. Okay. All right. Tania and Sinjin. Now, this relationship just got interesting, mostly for Sinjin's sake. Tania, I don't give a damn about. She's lost me a long time ago. By the way, she looks really pretty this season. Her hair, I like her natural look. She looks great. But as a person, she just does not interest me, and I think she's just the definition of selfish. Okay, so, Sinjin is so happy to be back in South Africa. He needs to just move home. Dude, this is not, you're not going to get what you want out of this relationship. And you don't even like America. And, she's not going to move to California. I mean, you might be happy there. I don't know. Even then, I don't think you're going to have the same. There's a lot of warmth in South Africa. Yeah, there's a lot of crime, but there's a lot of warmth too. And, that kind of whether they're British South African or Afrikaner South African, which he is, there's a kind of a warm social feeling down there. People are very close, or African, of course, or what they call Cape Colored. Colored is not a bad word there. That means that you're a Malaysian, and maybe a mix of Malaysian, white, and African. because there were a lot of Malaysians that came there as indentured servants. So anyway, yeah, I would never give up South Africa. I certainly would not give up South Africa for Tania. And when I say South Africa, I'm talking about Cape Town, because Cape Town is a miracle. Don't ever pass up the chance to go to Cape Town. There are two places in this world that can definitely be dangerous, so you do have to watch where you're going. You know, get a good driver. Don't be out at night. Don't walk everywhere. But these two cities are the most magnificently beautiful places on God's earth, and that is Rio de Janeiro and Cape Town. Don't ever pass up a chance to go there. And then the third really incredibly beautiful city, which politically is not safe, but in terms of crime is safe, is Hong Kong. Just stunning. The setting is so beautiful. Those cities are just amazing. And then I would say behind Cape Town, Rio, and Hong Kong, I would put Sydney and San Francisco as the most beautifully situated cities in the world. And I've been around, been to a few places, so I would definitely say those are the top 5. Okay. Okay, the reason why, of course, he flies home is because his brother had an injury in his leg and a blood clot that had formed there. I think it was a car accident. And a blood clot, I forget what the accident was. Anyway, the blood clot that had formed in his leg broke off and went to his lungs. This is a terrifying thing. This has happened to 2 of my sisters who both have clotting issues. Thank God I don't, but 2 of my sisters almost died from a blood clot shaking off from somewhere else in their body and going horribly wrong. And in one sister's case, it was like he described. It went into her lungs filled up, sorry to be gross, her lungs filled up with blood, and she felt like she was drowning. I mean, she was in a coma. She barely made it. So this is, if anyone thinks, oh, this doesn't sound that serious, what, he hurt his leg? No, don't be confused here. If he had his blood clot dislodge and go to his lungs, whether it's your lungs, your brain, your heart, whatever, no, that's a near-death experience, and he needs to see his brother, definitely. Okay, Sinjin gets behind the wheel of a little car, and he's not used to driving stick. So he's kind of messy on the clutch. You know, if you haven't driven stick, you have to have that nice balance, nice smooth balance of pressing the accelerator and letting out the clutch. And he probably kind of popped the clutch because the car lurched forward. You know, common rookie mistake. And I drove a stick for, oh my gosh, until I was, what, 35? I only drove, well, no, that's not true. In high school, I had an old bomb, you know, dumpy Pontiac. But from college through my 20s and into my mid-30s, I only drove stick shift cars, manual cars. So obviously I was very smooth on them. And now when I get behind the wheel of one, like when you're in a foreign country, a lot of times in Europe, you need to rent a manual car because automatics are so expensive. And the first few, like hour that I'm in them, I'm a little rough with the accelerator and the clutch. So it's perfectly normal. However, Tania, Miss Drama Queen, absolutely goes, she's so over the top because of her accident, which broke her metatarsal bone, which caused her extreme PTSD. She thought they were going to die because the car lurched forward. And then she badly pretends to cry. She doesn't even rub her eyes or do this or this or this or anything. She just sits there looking off into space going with nothing happening in the eye area. So yeah, I don't have a lot of time for Tania. Tania's not worth it. Stay, dude, brah, as they call you, as the Afrikaners call each other, brah, instead of bro. Stay in Cape Town. Let her go home. You don't have a baby yet. Please, before you have a baby, before you reproduce with her, get rid of her. Okay, let her find your soulmate. Okay, so they go to visit his brother. His brother's adorable. I mean, oh my God, Sinjin and his brother together, they're just those, again, just typical Cape Town white boys, you know, sweet, just just cool. You know, they hang out at the beach. They go out drinking every night. They're not necessarily going to set the world on fire, but you know, they're just cool. They're just fun. And oh my God, you can see how much he loves his brother and how much the brother loves him. It's really very, very sweet. This is very honest. This is very real. I love his family. His mother, his sister, they're so sweet. Nobody's prejudging Tania. No one's trying to not like her. You know, they're trying to listen to both sides. The mother and the sister hear him talk about certain things and then, you know, saying that she's controlling, whatever, and then they want to hear her side. So when Sinjin decides to go out at one point with his friends, Tania goes out with the mom and the sister to have like a ladies' afternoon or a ladies' evening or a ladies' night. And yeah, they ask her questions, but they're not grilling her. And they seem to understand that, look, both of them have issues in this relationship. They both have things that they would have to change or overcome for it to work, which is very true. Okay. Yeah. Sinjin also tells his family that he has not made a good friend yet in America. Well, how can you when you've got bloodsucker Tania making you carry her on your back to the bathroom, when at other times she mysteriously seems to be fine using a crutch? No, she's weird. Okay. Oh, the family also tells him he's put on weight in America. Yeah, people do. Tania says he can't get over the deals they have there. They'll have like 2-for-1 giant pizzas. And she's like, we don't need the second giant pizza. And he's like, yeah, but it's free. It's free, bro. Everything's free. There's a deal. So he's very cute. So he's put on a little weight. Who cares? He's adorable. You can tell whose side I like in this relationship. She is seriously concerned that this trip is going to make him stay there and not want to come back to Connecticut with her. And girl, you better be concerned, because that is a definite possibility. Okay, back to Fakeville. It's hard to believe that these really fake plots are in with these plots that are quite genuine with some genuine people, like Sinjin and his family. There's always, you know, kind of like the good mixed in with the bad, but God, there's so much fake. This season of Happily Ever After is just crazy. It's just so artificial. All right, so we left off with the fake fight between Andrei and Charlie, the fakest fight ever. When you see Charlie get up, first of all, he's walking real slowly toward Andrei, because Charlie knows that Andrei would break every bone in his body. Andrei's 6'4". He's a bodybuilder. He's a powerful tree of a man, and Charlie would not fare well. And then the way that he approaches him, like, yeah, you want a piece of this? You want a piece of this? Yeah, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do to me? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? He kind of like comes up to him and bumps up against him, and yeah, it's very strange because Charlie comes up to him, and you can tell Andrei's really like, do I have to fight this guy? I'll kill him. Do I have to fight this guy? I shouldn't fight this guy. I'm going to kill him and go to jail. So when Charlie comes up and approaches him, he tries to kind of bump chests with him. But what it looks like is he's going up very slowly to him to either ask him to dance or maybe to hug him. They're going to hug it out. I don't know. Just look at how fake it is. And then he kind of slowly lifts a fist back like this. Like, I'm going to hit you. I'm going to hit you. And Radu, I think one of Andrei's friends, grabs the wrist dramatically, like, no, don't slug him. Charlie wasn't going to slug him, because Charlie would have received a slug back from Andrei that would have left him on the floor, probably bleeding. So, yeah. It's just funny because Andrei is just looking at Charlie like, oh, dude, what are you doing? You know, hey, Charlie, why don't you just go back and do a few more lines of Coke? You know, then have 6 vodka and sodas and go drive. It is so rough to see Chuck and Charlie, 2 really low, scummy people, just grilling Andrei. about why he went to Ireland. It's hard. Okay. And as for Chuck, who's putting his 2 cents in, Chuck, shut the fuck up. Okay, you scammer of poor single mothers and children who lie to them and say that you own a house and then rent it out to these people, take the money from them, and then when the bank finally comes and seizes the house, the family's like, wait, no, we're renting it. We have a lease. And they find out that no, the person that you're paying money to every month does not own this house. He's a criminal. That would be Chuck. And I guarantee you, members of the family were helping with that. I wouldn't be surprised at all. So yeah, this is a really skanky family. They may have a nice house. They're a very skanky family. Okay, so yeah, it's all really, really fake. Chuck and Charlie are just basically criminal scumbags. And, you know, Charlie's just like saying, oh, it's a good thing we didn't fight, because I can tell you what would have happened. Yeah, I can too. You'd be in the hospital. Your face would be rearranged. You little princess, shut the fuck up. Okay, so Andrei wants them to go home. Libby is overacting. We'll talk about that in a minute, more about Libby's acting. She's a terrible actress. And finally, Libby and Andrei leave. Okay, then when they leave, Charlie has the nerve to call Andrei classless. Oh, because you and your family are such wonderful, classy people, right? Yeah, why don't you go steal money from another family by renting them a property and then taking money for them and charging them exorbitant late fees when they don't pay, and then disappear when the bank comes to seize the property and throw them out on the street, and all their furniture gets put in a pile in the front yard. What Chuck did cannot be overplayed in terms of how scummy that kind of fraud is, because it preys on the poor, it preys on the weak, it preys on people that don't have good credit, it preys on people who might be late on their payments, and that's the whole way they lure people in. Oh, don't worry, it's okay, if you can't make your payment, you can be a little late, and then they charge late fees. No, don't worry, it's okay, you can go ahead and rent the place, I'll give you a lease even though you don't have good credit. Yeah, because I don't own the property, I'm just stealing money from you. And you're squatting there, and eventually you're gonna get thrown out. Okay, yeah, it's called rental fraud. Look it up, it's ugly. You can even find when a house is being foreclosed, you can even find out who the owner is just by looking at the mortgage, because mortgages are public record, they're online. So you can look and see, let's say the owner of a house is like, I can't pay the mortgage on this anymore, so they stop making payments. And meanwhile, they've moved to Costa Rica, or they don't even care anymore, they just didn't have money. So they just basically abandon the property, and they're just waiting for the bank to come and grab it because they just can't afford it. So, Chuck could have gone in, he could have taken the information off the mortgage, and he could have easily forged a document showing that he was the owner of the house. That's called adverse possession. So, yeah, these are really, really skanky people. Okay, now we are going to throw another couple in the trash can, and that is Paul and Karina. I'm not going to dignify this relationship with any more of my time or words after this moment right now, because I'm explaining why. Paul is a very sick individual. He has committed arson and other crimes. He is all kinds of wrong. And I feel like TLC is deliberately looking for criminals. It's like, if you have a rap sheet, great, like Jeffrey last season. It's like they're looking for scummy people. They're looking for people that are going to have drama. Why are there so many people with criminal convictions, or on this show? Is this Love After Lockup or 90 Day Fiance? And by the way, that's another show I won't watch. So I wish Karina well. I certainly wish the baby Pierre well, but Paul is not a functioning human being, and it is not entertaining in any way or even interesting to watch him on a television show. So no more Paul and Karina. That's another one. Flush. Okay. Back to Asuelu and Kalani, who are still with us. You know, he is so verbally abusive to her. When she makes a comment about that it was weird the way that he kissed his mother, he once again starts cursing at her. He sure knows all the 4-letter words in English. He has no problem with the curse words. And what I really hated was when Kalani said in her confessional, you know what, sometimes I just let it go because it's not worth all the struggle. It's easier to just let it go. Oh, he's grooming her to be a perfect abused wife. And I think Kalani originally, I would imagine, I thought she was some kind of cool chick. But yeah, he is definitely grooming her to be a battered woman. So congratulations. I'm not saying he's going to hit her, but anyway, great job there, Asuelu. Okay. So they go to this adorable food truck mall. The food looks amazing, especially the grilled cheese sandwiches. Not that that's something that I would really eat very often, mostly because I just shouldn't, but I love grilled cheese sandwiches, so occasionally I will. So they bring all this incredible food to Mom and Rosa and Tammy, and within a very short period of time, Mom and Tammy are like, where's our money? Where's our $1,000? Again, keep in mind, there are other siblings. Asuelu has brothers and sisters who live overseas who are sending money to the family. The family in Samoa, and apparently this family in, I guess they live in Washington State, not Portland, on a regular basis. And Asuelu actually has to step up to the plate and not just blame everything on Kalani. He says, you know, I have a part-time job, I have to take care of my family, I have to pay my rent. And the mother and the sister are like, why don't you sell your car? Oh, and then he's going to be able to get a job how? In St. George, Utah? I don't think they have a great public transportation system. Or he says, look, her parents own property, they have money, get the money from them. Bloodsuckers. I mean, I have a hard time believing this is 100% just a Samoan cultural thing. I don't know, I want to find out. I really want to find out. Because, boy, and then when he says, I can give you $100, they look at him like he just said, I hope you die. I hope you die a horrible death. And even the deaf sister manages to be hostile with gestures. When she says like $100, not enough. Tammy's scary, the mom is scary, so they basically say, okay, we'll take the $100, and then they get up and leave. So apparently they don't want to see him anymore because he doesn't have $1,000 for him. He has failed them as a son and a brother. Awkward. I mean, I knew when he was paying all that money, he wasted like $300 on those stupid gifts from Samoa, which, why do you want things from Samoa? That would be like if someone came to visit me, let's say at a time of year when I'm in India, and someone came to see me in India, and what they brought me were all these souvenirs from Miami. Keychains, koozies, t-shirts, bikinis. You know, I live in Miami. I've lived in Miami since the early 1980s. I don't need Miami souvenirs, so I don't exactly understand why they need shirts, overpriced shirts and things like that from Samoa. I can understand why they might want whatever kind of weird potted meat that was. Some kind of spam. Hawaiians love their spam. I assume it's some kind of Samoan spam, whatever. Okay, that I can understand, but the other stuff, what a waste of money. Okay. Now, we are back to Elizabeth and Andrei. Oh, Elizabeth is overacting. Andrei was never at any point that out of control. He's just talking a load of rubbish. He's saying, I don't want them to come to the wedding. I don't want them at the wedding. I don't blame him. I would have said the same thing, the way they grilled him about his past and wouldn't let it go. Yeah, Andrei's a hothead. He wants them to go back to Tampa. You know what? So do I. I want them to go back. In fact, I hope they get lost halfway and live on a desert island and they can never con anyone again. And how dare Elizabeth say Andrei is the one behaving badly. Okay, and this whole thing is such bullshit because you can tell in the moments when you see Libby and Andrei and Eleanor interacting, they're basically a happy family. Elizabeth and Andrei love each other. They love the baby. This is all put on for the camera. You know, this is all fake. I totally understand why Andrei is upset with Chuck and Charlie. Now Libby has to threaten that she is not going to go through with the marriage if he doesn't apologize to Chuck and Charlie and change the way he's acting. She doesn't know if she wants to go through with the marriage. Girl, you're already married to him anyway. Doesn't matter. You were the one that wanted the big fancy snow princess wedding, so that's what you're going to get in the Moldovan Orthodox Church. So, anyway, by the way, you've probably heard that Elizabeth is an actress. She had a bit part in Homeland. She was a clerk at a convenience store. I don't even know if she had a speaking role. But, and then she has 2 credits that are independent Christian films. One is an independent Christian horror film. Doesn't that sound good? Yeah, apparently I'm going to look for them because apparently you can download them. I mean, I may have to pay like 99 cents on Amazon to watch part of the movie, but it could be funny. And if I do, I'll show you a little clip. Also, her mom claims to be a talent agent. We don't really hear about what the mom does other than probably help the father in his criminal enterprises, but she claims to be a talent agent. So Libby is starstruck. Little Libby wants to be an actress. And she, I don't know how she was in those movies she was in. Maybe she was fine. But on this show, her acting is horrible. Okay. Tania and Sinjin again. God, Sinjin is so much better to Tania than she deserves. So, as I said, Sinjin is going out with the boys. He's going out with his bras that night. He is going to be drinking. He doesn't lie and say, no, I'm not going to be drinking. She tells him, please don't go overboard. Don't get out of control. She really wants to label him as an alcoholic or something. I don't know. She's strange. Strange fish, Tania. So she goes out with mom and sis. And as I've said, just watching the show when they're in that market, it makes me miss South Africa. It makes me miss Cape Town. You know, they're very fair. The family understands that neither Sinjin nor Tania are perfect. So they're not hard on her. They're not nasty to her. They're very, very, very sweet. Okay, then we have a segment which we are skipping, which is the frizzy blonde buffalo, who believes she's still a colonial power. By the way, please stop insulting our intelligence with these couples where the woman is over 50 and we go through this whole pretense that maybe she can have a baby, maybe she can still have a baby. There has to be a way. In what fairy tale? No. If they do this one more time, it's really sad. Okay. All right. You know what? We have nothing else to report because I've already talked to you about Tammy and Rosa and Mom telling Asuelu that he is a terrible son, and basically they're stomping off like they don't ever want to see him again because he could only give them $100. That's a family dynamic for you. And then we are skipping the last part because that is the circus. That is Colt, Deb, and Jess, who will never be seen again. Oh God, probably the tell-all. Oh, I'm definitely not watching the tell-all for this one because 60% of it is going to be the frizzy blonde neo-colonial buffalo. So that was a partial recap of 90 Day Fiance Happily Ever After. And that is the way this one is going to be. I'm doing all the couples on the other way because there's something interesting, and even the, you know, Yasmin and Brittany drive me crazy, but there's still something in all of those. And for some reason, that show, I don't know what it is. I think it's because the very nature of Happily Ever After is they're beating a dead horse. If you know that expression, kids. They're taking couples that have already had their time, who are just trying to do anything they can to stretch out and prolong their fame. And oh, maybe they'll get their own show. You know, maybe they'll get their own show like Family Chantel or Darcy and Stacy. I still don't exactly understand why Family Chantel got their own show, because I could never stand that whole plot. It was just annoying and made me tense. Stacy and Darcy I get, because they're funny. They're just a mess. But somehow it's an interesting mess. I cannot explain to you why. But I'll be watching that and I'll be recapping that. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Please do me the very great service of pushing that little red button and subscribing. And if you do, go down to the comment section and leave your name so that I can thank you personally for subscribing. You can also hit that thumbs up, that like, give me your feedback, your comments, and be careful, and be good, but not too good. Bye.